Can we talk a little bit about Eze'S, his performance here today?
Yeah.
Playing in that favourite number 10 position.
Yeah, well, we spoke about that. Obviously, he's come on and played off the left, and for me, his best position is in the number 10. He can drift out either side and affect the game like he did today. And I mean, that shot there, it's an unbelievable save from Pope. I feel a little bit sorry for Pope, I really do, because like JJ said, you don't know whether to go for the winner or whether to keep hold of the ball, and obviously he kicks one and then that happens. But in terms of Eze, I thought he was head and shoulders above anything on the pitch today.
Yeah, he was, and I actually think, from an Arsenal point of view and from a Mikel Arteta point of view, I can still see a world where Eze and Ødegaard play.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, I think there's plenty of players, so plenty of games that they will play where they're going to dominate the ball, and you can have a three in midfield where you have the one pivot, whether it's Zubimendi or whether it's Declan Rice, and then you can have the two in front. It's exactly the same as what Pep Guardiola used to do with De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva or David Silva when they were playing. It was like, all you got to do, Ødegaard on the left, and you play Eze to the right, and just let them go and create, let them go. Arsenal are so dominant defensively. They don't need all of those defensive midfielders a lot of the time. They almost put more pressure on themselves with those defensive midfield players. So I'm not saying week in, week out. And a game like today, I totally would understand it. You come into St James's Park. This is one of the games that you earmark. If you're going for a title, it's one of the games you earmark throughout the calendar where you go, we need to get a result there. Liverpool have come here and got a result. Arsenal have now come here and got a result. And they've laid down the marker in terms of, they've been able to do that. So it's up to the rest, who think they can challenge to go and do that. So, Eze was... for me, that kind of standout today, that I don't see how you take him out of the team.
Fair point. What do you reckon?
Bang on. He's all of a sudden become probably the most important player for Arsenal, I think.
The most important? That's a big shout. Just so you know, the next game's Olympiacos in the Champions League, and then it's a London derby against West Ham with a new manager bounce and all that. Yeah. And after the international break, Fulham, London derby again away.
Yeah, listen, going back to the Eze thing, obviously, he's only just got into the team, he's only just signed for the club, but looking at his performance today, for me, everything good that Arsenal did went through Eze.
Yeah. And by the way, that's a nice run of games for them.
Yeah.
They've had to go to Anfield, they've had to come here, they've had City at home.
They had Old Trafford a visit on the first day as well.
Exactly, visit to Old Trafford, Champions League in between all of that. There's that particular run of games there, that'll be...
Congratulations today on the victory.
Well done, mate.
You were made to work for it today, though.
Yes,
but it felt like the better team won because of the chances you had. The fact that Nick Pope had to work so hard is an indication of that.
Yeah, Nick Pope was on fire today. It was quite clear, but like you said, I think the best team won today. I think we definitely deserved the win, and we're really delighted with it.
Can I also ask about the performance of Eze'S put into the starting lineup in that number 10 possession? We've just been waxing lyrical about his performance here in St James's Park. Never an easy ground to come to. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think he was unstoppable today at times. He was really good. I was just speaking to him now in the change room. That first chance, there's not many keepers that will save that. That would have topped it off. But without the goal today, he was really, really, really good for us, and he's a really exciting signing. And I'm happy to have him in our team.
How's the legs, by the way? You took a bit of a battering in that first half, didn't you?
Yeah. You got blood. Can you see that?
For you.
There's literally blood right there on your right ankle.
Yeah, but coming to this ground, we know what to expect. Yeah. It's going to be a battle. And like I said, the best team won today. We got what we deserved.
That's what I was going to say, really. I think, sorry, Franny, you've come over here over the last few years, and it's been tough for you. You've had some tough results and some tough decisions go against you. Big moment for the club today, and obviously yourselves coming there and getting a result.
Yeah, 100%. There was a point where obviously I was on the bench, and it was getting towards the end of the game, and it was kind of feeling that it was going to be that feeling again. We played well, and something's going against us, the penalty decision or whatever. But yeah, that's why in the change room we're so happy that we turned it around, and it's going to.
That's what I was going to say. What's the atmosphere like in the changing room right now? I know it's early on in the season, but you could see on the bench the reaction, the lads running down and scored. Do you feel this is a massive result, even though it's early on in the season?
Yeah, this is a massive result. It's also a statement win as well, because in this ground we've come here in the past and we've lost, and this year we've shown that we can come here and win. And the same for other away grounds. We want to go there and do the same.
All right, final question here. With the results in the other games yesterday in the Premier League, did you feel under pressure to get a result here today? And now that you've done it, how does that feel?
To be fair, for me, it's less pressure.
Less pressure.
When the teams drop points, but at the end of the day, as a player, of course, when you're playing for a big side, you can only focus on yourself. There's been times in the past where you've let results, other teams drop points or they didn't. It gets in your head. for us, you know, we're trying to just block that out and focus on winning games. You know, we knew today, regardless whether the other side's won or not, we had to come here and win, and we're happy we did that.
One final thing: do you feel like a leader in this team?
He's got the armband on. What do you expect him to feel like?
Exactly.
Great answer.
But how does that feel for you personally to wear that armband in that case?
No, it's a massive honour. The trust of my teammates and obviously the staff. So, you know, I'm just really happy, and, you know, hoping I can do a good job when I have it on.
Well, you got all 3 points again today. Thank you very much.
Okay. We'll kick off with Tom from Football London.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
I feel like we've spoken to you after several games where you've dominated and not got the result that you wanted. How does it feel getting the result there?
Unbelievable feeling. That's what is football about, and a team when you get what you deserve right at the end is not a better feeling than that.
Can I just ask as well, in the moments towards the end where the VAR check's going on for Gabriel's moment in the box, how high was your heart rate in that moment?
Well, I'd see the action very clear and fast, so I thought he wasn't going to intervene, but I don't know, because obviously we had the example of what happened in the first half with a penalty. Regardless of that, so proud of the team, the way we played, the way we competed, the way we understood the game, how we reacted to very difficult situations and decisions, and still find a way to win the game with the players coming from the bench. Exception.
Arts Athletic.
Hi.
I know you said it's an unbelievable feeling, but when everything's like a roller coaster, like that game was, how do you actually judge what happens? Like, as you said, really good start to the game, but when they have those challenges like that, how do you see what happens?
Well, understanding, and that's the game that we have to play. There are a few things that it might be unpredictable with the lineup or the formation or whatever. There are certain things so predictable what you have to do here to win a football match. And we certainly done that from the start to the end. And on top of that, we added today so much quality from various ways to generate the amount of chances that we did. And at the end, find a way to win it when I think we fully deserve to win the game.
Mentally, what do moments like that
Well, I think we discussed to go to the next level. First of all, you have to learn from the past, and certainly we take some lessons and very different and sore moments in this ground. And today was an opportunity that the game brings you again in a really important week in the Premier League. After all the tough places that we already been very early in the season, to show who we are, who do we want to be, our ambition, and the way that we want to play. And I think the team has done that today in a remarkable way.
Simon, Evening Standard.
Mikel, what was your thoughts on the Gyökeres decision, and also the way that your players reacted to it? Because it feels like in the past they might have unravelled after that, but particularly for the second half, it felt like they sort of were able to draw a line and get back on.
Yeah, well, I watch it live, and then I watch it in the screen, and for me it was a penalty. We were instructed very clearly again this season that unless it's a clear and obvious error, the VAR is not going to intervene. It's not, so that's my opinion. Thanks God we found a way to win the game. The team is still emotionally very, very, very calm and very composed, and that's a lesson that we took as well, probably from a few years ago.
It feels like it's been a big weekend in the times race. The gap's down to 2. What does the result like did this do for your belief in terms of Chelsea?
Yeah, I believe the conviction of the team that we are, and that we can play various type of games, and the team still can deliver and win it in a convincing way. And for me today, it's one of the most difficult grounds. Again, praise Newcastle, the way they play, compete, how difficult it is to play in this place. But the team really took the game to a different level, and I'm very proud to see that.
Hi Mikel, it's a bit of a familiar story for you in recent games, but yet again substitutes made a big difference, didn't they?
Yes, and we certainly did that, and I will have to make a few adjustments and substitutions as well for different reasons. And the ones that are coming in, they really come in fully focused. My duty is to win the game for the team, and all of them did it in an incredible manner. Martinelli comes in, and it shows from the beginning his threat. Saliba comes in 45 minutes, and I think it was outstanding again. Martin comes in after a long period and delivers 2 balls that are goals. Mikel Merino comes in, which is a massive threat in the box, and delivers a winning moment. So all of them.
Okay, we've got 2 more there. Martin, from the man.
I think there was a coming together between Gabriel and Valdemar after the goal. Did you see that? Do you have an opinion on it if you did?
No, I haven't seen it, sorry.
Okay. And finally, oh, we've got two more. Jason from the Telegraph there.
So, Mikel, in the context of obviously Liverpool dropping points yesterday, you must have felt a bit more under pressure today to get that result. I mean, how important then is it to win following that yesterday?
Well, yes, I mean, there are moments in the season, and obviously with the start that we had already and the difficult fixtures that we had, today we have the opportunity to close that gap and do it in a stadium that has a very recent and difficult past for us. I think it shows how much the team wants it.
Okay, finally in the front here.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
You got criticised a little bit last week, but you've come here today, really took the game to Newcastle. Do you feel that you and your players silenced those critics this week and shown exactly what?
Well, I don't know. I think the way we played against Manchester City and Newcastle, two of the toughest opponents to play, the team was outstanding. That's my view on it. Very clear.
Okay, guys. Okay, thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you able to take a breather after a very high intensity match today against Arsenal?
Yeah, every time when we play in Premier League is an intensity game, and we need some rest after the game. But we need to work because we play in 3 days. We play a big game for us. I think every game now we can change the season because we need points in the table here in the Premier League. We need points in Champions League. We need to play the best football for us, for our fans, for every people in Newcastle, and we need to keep pushing because every player here knows our fans, our city, and we play for us, we play for every people in Newcastle. So we need to play. We can do much better every time. We can do much better, especially the last minute. But we are happy, we are lucky for have this stadium with these people.
So I heard Mikel Arteta was saying that Arsenal fully deserved the win today. Do you agree with that assessment from the manager?
I don't know. I think until if you watch the last 10 minutes, maybe you have one opinion. If you watch all the game, you have another opinion. And if you put Newcastle shirt, you have one opinion. If you put Arsenal shirt, you have another opinion. I think just for Newcastle, because we play a very good game, we concede the last 5 minutes 2 shots, we concede 2 goals. Maybe every game, every time, in one decision, you can change the game with one decision. So this is football, and sometimes this game you win this game, sometimes you lose, sometimes you draw. So we need to work, we need to keep pushing, we need to bring the positive things for today for the other match.
So how do you react then as a player coming off this defeat? Because we can see how Newcastle were playing very, very good in all-round performance, and to get this loss must be tough.
Yeah, I think in football you have one game every 3 days, and this is a very good chance for change your week, for change your positivity or negativity. So you need to put a point and restart as quick as possible, because you play every 3 days and you need to be positive every 3 days. So every game is different. Now we need to change page, because we know we have a great team, and today we put here in the pitch a very good football. So I'm sad for the last 5 minutes for our fans, but we need to change quick, because we should play a very, very, very good game against Union Saint-Gilloise.
All right, thank you, Sandro.
Well, joining us live there from St James's Park, Tim. Interesting, Gary saying, can they win this league? Do they know how to win this league? Well, to win the league, you do still have to go away and win the game. And I know they're the away team today, not like last weekend when we were talking at FanFest about they're at home to Manchester, they got to go for it, and they didn't really. Okay, the onus maybe isn't on them like it was last weekend, but they still got to go for it and try and win the game.
They do. They still have to go for it, win the game. It's going to be tough because Newcastle they're not playing very well, but that's a tough place to go. And we saw some of the highlights down the years. It's always a good game between these two teams. There's pressure. There's pressure on them to capitalize. It's one thing to keep pace, right? And so there was a gap, so you have to try and keep pace. Now that Liverpool lost, they've got to go again. They have to use this game, the same mentality that they had at City. Never mind tactics. The same mentality, thinking we have to get something from this game. It has to be 3 points.
I mean, how big a factor is the Liverpool defeat yesterday in the minds of those Arsenal players in that dressing room today? The talk. We've all seen the behind-the-scenes access where Arteta is touched. Do you think he'll use that at all?
Yeah, the players will all know. They'll have been texting each other on the group chat. They know it's at stake, and they'll be reminding each other in the hotel, in the team meals, on the bus, definitely in the dressing room before they walk out.
So how will they play?
Well, they'll have to fight fire with fire, because to go St James's Park, that's a given. But they've got to turn their control of football into chances and goals. I read a lovely line with Arsenal. They've got the depth now. Have they got the devil? Have they got what it takes to go and get a win? We were talking on our production call this week where, can you imagine if Liverpool beat Palace and Arsenal lose to Newcastle, an 8-point gap? They can close the gap to 2 points. Start changing the narrative. All that cautious play and things last season goes away. Last season, they lost as many games as Liverpool, only 4 games lost, but they drew 14. So going to Newcastle today in a draw isn't a great result. Going to Newcastle and winning is what Arsenal need to do if they want to win the title.
Robbie talks about making chances. Are they making enough chances with the talent they have in that team? It doesn't strike me as Victor Gyökeres is missing a ton. He's just not getting a lot.
Yeah, they're not, but that doesn't worry me. I think this team has the quality to continue to create chances. I think today's a good game. You mentioned a little bit. Newcastle can be on the front foot. They press, they try and get you in between lines, and they try and turn you over, and Arsenal's going to want the ball, and they're going to take it, and they'll play through those lines.
And the best creative players are all getting fitter now, so I think, the players behind Gyökeres are starting getting better, and he'll have more looks.
Yesterday was crazy in the Premier League, the day of the underdog, we've been calling it. Let's start with that game at Selhurst Park, Palace against Liverpool. Certainly in the first half, the way Liverpool were cut through, they were ripped apart by Crystal Palace, Gary, is going to give real encouragement, isn't it? Not just the result, but also the way that they defended. It's going to give such encouragement to others.
That's exactly the word that's been sort of the top of my mind since yesterday. Encouragement, particularly for Arsenal, who are playing today, and they needed that. But you're right. I mean, Crystal Palace obviously have had a fantastic start to the season. They've got real threats going forward. But Liverpool, we've said it from the start of the season, in certain games they have looked vulnerable. They have they have conceded chances. They've conceded goals, and you can't keep doing that. And particularly in difficult away games, I always think that if you're playing 12:30 on a Saturday as well over here in the UK, that is one of the most challenging fixtures to sort of have for a top team, and Crystal Palace is a difficult place to go.
Well, Manchester United struggled, didn't they, at Brentford yesterday? It does feel like 1 step forward and 2 steps back for them. According to the BBC this morning, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is sticking with Ruben Amorim. Gary, where are your levels of faith right now? Is it going to be a situation that in a few months' time we'll look back and say, what took them so long? Or do you think faith in Amorim is still the way to go?
I'm very worried, Rebecca. There's no point in me sitting here and saying that I'm not. I think the levels of performance, the results, the substitutions. Yesterday, I think I said I saw something at the end of the Grimsby game that they lost in the Carabao Cup a couple of weeks ago, which was Mason Mount ending up at left wing back. Now, look, we admire managers who are resilient, who are sort of, if you like, stubborn around the system. We want them to stick to the plan. But when you've got Mason Mount playing at left back, you're going to look pretty stupid. And that's happened twice now. It can't happen. The first time I thought was unforgivable, and yesterday it happened again. He changes his back 3 and his back 5 every single game, and the performances and the results are just unacceptable. So I'm really, really worried. I would never go on television. I know how difficult a manager's job can be and say that a manager should be sacked, but I suspect that the hierarchy at Manchester United are going to want to see a turnaround very quickly.
Let's talk about the game later, Newcastle against Arsenal. I'm going to ask you about both teams. We'll start with Newcastle, struggling to score goals. How big a hole is Isak missing?
He is, but when you look at the fact that today they could play with Murphy, Elanga, Gordon, Voltemada, you think of that sort of strike force. You know, they've got goals in them, and the three in midfield, I think, is probably the best midfield in the country. I love their midfield, so they should be doing better in that respect. I can see why they've sort of struggled in the first few weeks of the season, but I think it will come good for Newcastle. Today will be an incredible atmosphere, and look, could be the sort of time of the year for Newcastle to make a statement. We know Arsenal find it difficult up here getting results.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. They do come unstuck sometimes at St James's Park, but the gift that their former striker Eddie Nketiah gave them yesterday at Selhurst Park in order to close the gap today, Arsenal simply have to win, don't they?
Yeah, look, a lot of us have predicted Arsenal to win the league because we think they can go that step further. This is a big, big opportunity today. They must have been travelling up to Newcastle Saturday afternoon, just after Liverpool lose at Crystal Palace, and thinking, right, come on, here we go. This is it. This is our moment where we make a statement and we tell everybody in the league that we're serious about winning the trophy. You know, is Mikel Arteta under pressure from above to win a trophy, or are they just happy picking up the cash every single year that comes with being in Champions League places? You know, we asked the question last week, does he know how to win a title? Do the players know how to win a title? But today will tell us a lot about where they're at, because I think it's a game I feel really strongly about that they have to go and win.
It's going to be fascinating as ever. Thank you so much, Gary. We'll speak to you next week. Enjoy your day.
Rebecca.
Gary Neville.
Hello everybody, it's the Gary Neville podcast. We're at St James's Park. There are still Arsenal supporters high above us celebrating what feels at the moment, Gary, in the moment, like a monumental win.
Yes, yeah, and rightly they should be celebrating. It was absolute bedlam up there. You know, there's nothing better than seeing a last-minute winner, unless it's against your team. But seeing the Arsenal players at the end obviously celebrating, and the Arsenal fans up there, that felt big. I think when the first goal went in, you can sort of smell something. And there's big questions been asked of Arsenal in this last week, but rightly so. And he's changed today. He'll play it down, Mikel Arteta. You'll hear him say we've not done anything differently. But his team selection at the start of the game is more positive. His substitutions were everything he could have thrown at the game. If you're going to come off a football pitch, make sure you've used all your weapons. Make sure you've used everything in your armoury. And he'd done that. So even at 1-1, you know, my message, I was thinking about if it stays 1-1, I would have been, to be fair, praiseworthy of Arsenal. I would have said that they've done everything they possibly can. The manager made the right decisions. He makes the right substitutions. But it's just not quite come for them. But the reason you get the winner at the end is because of the intent. I said last week, we've got to stop looking at what Mikel Arteta says or what managers say and look at what they do. So if they say they're going to go for it, they want to win the league, they think they can win the league, they believe they should win every single match, then let your substitutions tell us that. Let your team selection tell us that. And I'm quite animated here tonight, because a week ago I was equally animated in a different way, because I felt as though he was leaving his team short. A point whereby even the players in the dressing room might have been thinking, you've not played Eze, you've not played Saka, you played Mourinho, you played Trossard, you've not played Martinelli. And his own players need to be let free. He's got a brilliant squad. I think he's got the best squad in the league, and maybe one of the best team in the league. I say that quietly because Liverpool are excellent. But there's only two teams can win this league, Liverpool or Arsenal, in my opinion. I don't think anybody else can. And it may as well be you. If you're in that position, you've got to think of it. And I even thought, travelling up this morning, is the pressure on Mikel Arteta to win the league? And I was thinking that on the way up for 3 hours. I was thinking, are the Arsenal board saying to him that, you know, second is great? Because the monetary difference between first and second is very little. You're in the Champions League, you get big prize money for finishing second, you're consistent, the grounds are full every week, the people are paying to watch. But you're Arsenal Football Club and you have to win titles, and I'm absolutely adamant about that because of what I experienced in my football career whilst battling against Arsenal year in, year out. And they've got to step up, and today they've stepped up. When that first goal went in, I said big, and I thought the second one was coming. I genuinely did. I thought I could feel that sort of something happening in the ground, those Arsenal players, and it did happen. And I think it's a big moment. Look, it's September, it's ridiculous. I can't even believe I'm speaking like this. Someone who's experienced around sort of, you know, being in title races and saying every single season it doesn't start till March. But what you've got to do along the way is send out some calling cards. You've got to send out some clear messages that we're here and we're proper. And that's what I think Arsenal have done today.
So to what extent did the Liverpool result play into the dynamic of this game? To what extent was there a weight of obligation because of what happened at Selhurst Park yesterday?
I think it added pressure on. I mean, look, they've been under pressure anyway at Arsenal. If Liverpool had won, they'd have been under big pressure in a different way. But there's no doubt when you're travelling to London like we used to, or to Newcastle like Arsenal were yesterday, if the team that you think you're up against that can win the league lose a game on a Saturday and you're travelling to play on a Sunday, that doesn't half give you a lift. I mean, players and managers will say all day long in interviews that, we only concentrate on our own job, and they'll play that straight back and tell us basically what, the professional says. But the reality of it is that little smile on your face, that little bit of a come on, this is it, we're on, game on. I was watching the golf last night, and I don't watch a bit of golf, but watching Europe and seeing that sort of element of when someone goes first and misses a putt, it's certainly a lot easier than when they put it in. And that's what Liverpool did. They missed a putt yesterday. They missed a 4-footer or a 8-footer, Crystal Palace away is now. And Arsenal have gone up here today to their toughest ground. This is a very difficult place for Arsenal to win. You said their record, 4 in the last 5 they've lost. So for Arsenal to come here today, I said before, I feel quite animated because I feel like I've seen, I call it a swing, a momentum shifter.
Forgive me, you make a good point, because people coming into this weekend were saying, listen, Liverpool probably win at Palace, and it's conceivable that Arsenal lose at Newcastle, because they have. And we were talking about an 8-point gap. I mean, there's your swing. 8 potentially has become 2, in fact.
Yeah, and lots of people were thinking that before the weekend. 8 points would be too much to sort of catch up. I mean, I don't go along with that. I think it's still too early. But, I just think that what I mentioned before is you don't win the title in September. Arsenal haven't won the title today. Liverpool didn't lose the title yesterday. But what I think Liverpool realised tonight is that they're probably going to be in with a bigger fight than maybe they thought. Maybe they thought they were in with a battle anyway, that they weren't going to have it easy. But there's something in that Liverpool sort of mentality tonight as they go to bed that'll be thinking, they started the game with Saka. They started the game with Gyökeres, they started the game with Eze, they started the game with Trossard, but then Mourinho comes on, Ødegaard comes on, Martinelli comes on. Madueke's not even sort of fit yet. So they've got some real options, they've got some real sort of game changers that can come off the bench, and Mikel Arteta used them. He actually went 2-3 at the back. He put Trossard at left back at one point, and he really did take risks. That's what you have to do. The manager tells the team on the pitch by his substitutions and his team selection how he's thinking about the game. If you put 4 or 5 defenders on, all of a sudden the manager is playing for a point. He's happy with the result. If a manager puts forwards on and keeps on putting forwards on and keeps on putting forwards on, he's telling you to go for it quite clearly. And the one I kept saying about, Declan Rice actually was sitting a little bit deeper, and I kept saying, just release yourself, Declan. You might concede a second, but take the risk. Take the risk. Release yourself. You've got Zubamendi back there for much of the game alongside you. All right, him and Gabriel and Saliba can deal with that counter-attack. Take the risk, and I think there was an element of that. I mean, obviously both goals came from set pieces. Declan Rice did put a great cross in, but I think it's a big moment. It may not prove to be at the end of the season. We're maybe getting carried away over nothing, but just instinctively it feels like something's happened here today.
Do you feel like it's an Arsenal blueprint? Is this what he would carry to future away games, do you think?
Look, there might be certain games where they're 2-1 up, where he has to go and completely play the opposite and take every forward off and go defensively because they're under the cosh. You adapt to the game, but what I'm absolutely unequivocal about is that when you're drawing in a game as an Arsenal, a Liverpool, a Manchester United, a Manchester City, 99 times out of 100 you've got to be thinking, how do I win this match? And more often than not, you're going to need to make attacking substitutions that tell your players the intent. And the one thing that Arsenal are guilty of at times is basically sort of recycling it a little bit safely, not taking too many risks, having safer players on the pitch, and it results in a good formulaic performance. They're a good performing team. But if you're going to go that extra yard that we asked them to last week, that extra step, you've got to do something. You've just got to do something that sort of changes the ordinary. That little bit extra that takes you away from being sort of predictable, and that little bit of safety and that pragmatic element of what Arsenal are at times. Get rid of it. You don't need to be. You've got absolutely brilliant options up front with players who are really exceptionally talented. Let them go. Let them be free. You've got enough. You've got a brilliant back line. Mosquera, Saliba, Gabriel, two fantastic defensive fullbacks in Calafiore and Timber, and Ben White and Miles Lewis Skelly to back them up. You don't need anything else back there. You've got a great goalkeeper. Everything's about scoring goals, 2, 3, 4, hurting teams. And today they'll have big smiles going back down to London tonight, and I think they'll realise that is a blueprint moving forward. And Mikel Arteta, I'll say it again, he'll say that nothing's changed in a week. It has. He's taken more risks today than he did last Sunday, and fortune favours the brave.
Horrible one for Newcastle, Gary.
Oh,
especially after Liverpool, same thing's happened again.
Yeah, and look, it is a horrible one for Newcastle. I didn't think they played at the best. I mean, look, they fought. They're solid defensively. They were hanging in there, a little bit like City last week at one point when Eddie Howe went to 5 at the back, and you couldn't argue with it because there was a wave after wave of attack. But yeah, they'll be disappointed. They'll be gutted with how the season started. But I think the ingredients are right here. There's no need to panic. Those Newcastle fans at the end, there's still a lot of them, I think, were appreciative of the performance. They played against a good side. And I don't think that there's need for changes here or anything like that. I think they just need to get into their flow. I think they'll rise up the league. I think they'll win a lot of points. They'll win a lot of matches here. And today they just played against, I think, probably at this moment in time, maybe the best team in the league on performance levels, and they're very difficult to play against Arsenal.
Okay, Liverpool.
Every word Mikel Arteta said about Arsenal's victory over Newcastle, Gabriel's handball, Arsenal's goal, and that late penalty decision. Mikel Arteta faced the media after Arsenal's hard-fought win over Newcastle United in the Premier League. It took 2 late goals, from Mikel Merino and Gabriel Magalhães, to seal the victory, ending a tough run of results at St James Park and bringing the Gunners within 2 points of Liverpool. After a frustrating penalty decision was overturned and a goal from Nick Woltemade was confirmed, it seemed like time was running out. But Arsenal dug deep and delivered a dramatic, yet well-deserved win when it mattered most. Arteta was full of pride and emotion after the final whistle, praising his players' mentality and resilience. How does it feel to finally get the result you deserved, especially after recent games where you dominated but didn't come away with the win? It's an unbelievable feeling. This is what football is all about. When a team gets what it truly deserves at the end, there's no better reward. We've been on the wrong side of these moments too many times. Today, we earned every bit of that result. When VAR was checking Gabriel's moment in the box near the end, what was going through your mind? Well, I saw it live and it looked pretty clear and quick to me, so I didn't think they'd overturn anything. But with what happened in the first half with the penalty decision, I honestly wasn't sure. Regardless, I'm extremely proud of the team, how we played, how we competed, how we responded to really tough moments and still found a way to win. With so many highs and lows in a match like that, how do you even begin to analyze what really happened out there? You have to accept that this is the type of game you have to play in this league. Some things are unpredictable, lineups, formations, but others are crystal clear. You need to fight, stay composed, and take your chances. From start to finish, we did exactly that. And beyond that, we added quality, real quality, throughout the pitch. Mentally, what did a performance like that mean for your players after everything they've faced this season? We talked about needing to learn from the past if we want to reach the next level. We've had tough moments here before, and today was another chance to show what we've learned. This was a big game, in a crucial week for the Premier League. After the adversity we faced earlier this season, we showed exactly who we are and who we want to be. What was your take on the Gioca's penalty decision? And how impressed were you with how the team responded? I watched it live and again on the big screen, and for me, that's a penalty. We've been told clearly this season that unless it's a clear and obvious error, VAR won't intervene. That wasn't the case here. But again, the key is how we reacted. The team stayed calm, composed, and emotionally in control. That's something we've learned from past experiences. With Liverpool dropping points yesterday, did that add pressure or motivation for today's result? Of course, there are key moments in a season where the opportunity is right there. Yesterday was one of those. And we had to come here, to one of the hardest places to play, and get the job done. That shows what this team is made of. Your substitutes made a massive impact again. That seems to be a recurring theme lately. How important is that? Massive. We knew we'd need fresh legs and different solutions as the game went on. Every player who came on today contributed in a big way. Martin came in and was a threat from the first minute. Saliba stepped in at half-time and was outstanding. Martin, Degaard, was coming back from a long spell out and still managed to deliver 2 assists. And Mikel Merino gave us the moment we needed most. That's what you want from your bench, game changers. There was a bit of a moment between Gabriel and Woltemade after the goal. Did you see what happened there? No, I didn't catch that, sorry. Finally, do you feel like this result helped silence some of the criticism you and your team faced last week? I don't know about silencing critics, but what I do know is we faced Manchester City and Newcastle, 2 of the toughest teams in the league, and I believe we were exceptional in both games. That's my opinion, and I think it's pretty clear. Aftermath and implications of Arsenal's victory over Newcastle. The final whistle brought a mix of relief and celebration for Arsenal. Players embraced with visible emotion, fully aware of how significant this result could be, not just in terms of points, but in terms of belief. For Newcastle, however, the mood was very different. What had looked like a match under control ended in disappointment, frustration, and questions, tightening the title race. With Liverpool failing to secure all 3 points earlier in the weekend, Arsenal's late win pulled them within 2 points of the top of the table. It was a massive result in a weekend that could have widened the gap. Instead, it reopened the title race and reminded everyone that Arsenal remain firmly in the fight. This win also boosts Arsenal's confidence heading into the crucial next stretch of fixtures. In a season where momentum is everything, pulling off a comeback like this, away from home, in a high-pressure situation, sends a message to their rivals: they are not going anywhere. Newcastle's struggles continue. On the other side, Newcastle are left to reflect on yet another match where they couldn't hold on to a lead. Their performance, though solid in spells, was ultimately not enough. Defensive lapses in the final moments, combined with missed chances earlier, proved costly. To make matters worse, they suffered a potential injury to Tino Livramento, whose early exit raised serious concern on the bench. The defeat leaves Newcastle slipping further away from the top 4 conversation, and with key fixtures ahead, questions are beginning to mount about consistency and squad depth. VAR controversy and Gabriel's incident. The match was also marked by officiating controversy. One key moment came when Arsenal appealed for a penalty after Victor Gyökeres was brought down in the box, only for the decision to be overturned after a lengthy VAR check. Mikel Arteta expressed his disappointment post-match, stating he believed it was a penalty and that the threshold for overturning decisions should remain consistent. Another flashpoint came after Gabriel Magalhães scored and appeared to have a heated exchange with Nick Woltemade. The incident raised eyebrows, though nothing was officially reported by the officials after the game. It did, however, reflect the emotional intensity of the match, particularly in those final few minutes. Breaking the St. James Park curse. St. James Park has never been a particularly kind place for Arteta. In the past, both as a player and manager, he's endured difficult moments here. Last season's loss in this stadium was a turning point in Arsenal's title collapse, and those scars were still visible in his cautious tone pre-match. This time, however, his team showed character, maturity, and control. To come from behind and win in such a difficult environment marks a milestone for this group. It's not just another 3 points. It's a psychological breakthrough. The importance of squad depth. One of the most defining aspects of the match was the impact of Arsenal's bench. Substitutes made the difference. Martin Degaard, returning from injury, brought calm and vision. William Saliba, introduced at half-time, stabilized the defense. And Mikel Merino provided a presence in the box that eventually resulted in the equalizer. Arteta praised his players not just for their talent but for their attitude. The substitutes were fully focused and ready to change the game, and they did. In a long campaign where every point matters, having a reliable and impactful bench could be the difference between second place and the title. A shift in momentum. This win could mark a turning point. Not only has it allowed Arsenal to close the gap at the top, but it also helped bury some of the ghosts of past collapses. Arteta's team is proving that it can handle pressure, respond to setbacks, and remain composed under fire. For Newcastle, the road ahead looks more uncertain. Injuries, tactical inconsistencies, and emotional responses to key moments are beginning to weigh heavily. How they respond in the next few weeks will determine whether they can stay competitive or slip further off the pace.